Freezing cold, and he wanted to bring me in to meet you, and of course then it didn't work out that way, and, you know. So by that time everybody's sort of freezing cold and everything. But it doesn't matter if he says, I don't really mind, because he said I can meet you today, so that's fine.
That's what I said. If we couldn't last night, I said, see if they'll be available tomorrow night, because they'll do my first bit early, and it gives some time. And I have to meet the Kimballs too. You may not know. You may know them.
The Kimballs, yeah.
They're very nice people. They were good friends when I was here.
Yes.
I knew them quite well.
Yeah.
So
what are you doing with yourself now then? You're in...
I'm sort of a mayor. I manage a community of 7,000 people.
Really?
A golf course, a marina, a country club, a restaurant, a community center, a preschool, a stable, tennis courts, swimming pools, jogging trails. It's 2,500 acres. It's bigger than Bentwaters. And I have of course, I have managers around the golf course, around the marina, and all the different things. And I do everything: do the financials, do the billing, pay the bills, make sure they're legitimate, let the contracts, oversee the contracts, pave the roads. Not personally, but it's sort of like a base. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's a big business. That's all. And I enjoy it. I've been doing this particular place for the last 4 years, and I did it several years before in another place.
Yeah.
Sort of like what I did in the military.
Yeah.
In a certain way. So.
Right. Have you heard from Harry lately?
Harry calls me occasionally. Harry's you know Harry better than I do. Harry's the most interesting person. I mean, he's very likable. He's extremely nervous. That's not the right word, I guess, but he gets concerned about everything. He's very sensitive. I hesitate to say much to him for fear that I offend him, and I don't mean to. He takes offense very easily. And what's your relationship with him these days?
No, it's non-existent actually for about 2 years. I haven't really heard from him for about 2 years. And last time I spoke to him, he said, I finished with the Rendlesham case, I don't know what to do with you.
Well, he told me that, but he still calls me every 6 months or once a year. Or so. Not often, but occasionally, just to, what's going on? I said, nothing.
Yeah.
Not much that I know of. I'm here and you're over there.
There's an awful lot going on down there, but it's paranormal. We were down there last night and we got an awful lot of stuff on video. I mean, alright, we've got the little guys on video. We got them on video on Friday night. We were down there, the little white ones. We've got them on video. Yeah, we've actually got them on video, and I've actually seen them down in the clearing, the place we call the clearing. I've seen them come down the beam of light. That's all the sort of stuff that I've sent you and that. But
can you capture them on normal film or video? We've
actually got.
Do you use infrared?
We've got them on digital, on a digital camera. We've captured them, and just at the moment we're capturing this really weird mist which seems to hover around me all the time, and it changes itself into shapes. But my white Alsatian I've got on Friday night, and I didn't like that. There was a shape come up, and that opened its mouth like that, and sort of on the digital camera, it's got Mason inside its mouth. It's
Mason?
My dog. That's a white Alsatian. He attracts an awful lot down there. We've got him engulfed in lights.
How does the dog react?
Well, he goes a bit mad sometimes. He barks and barks, races round us, trying to bite you. And,
that's not his normal character, I take it.
No. It's just when we're down there, all the stuff is happening. But we've got, on that video there, you'll see some of the stuff. We've got like a Yeti shape coming across, and the Yeti actually comes and touches the camera. I saw the Yeti last year in September. It was the year before actually, the years go so quick. And I actually saw him stand there looking at me. And he smelled terrible, and terrible smell. And a lot of people keep saying they're seeing these brown bears in the woods, but I'm sure it's the Yeti that people are saying, not the brown bears. Some people
brown bears aren't native to this area, are they?
No, neither is the Yeti.
I don't ever remember the whole time I was here anybody ever mentioning a bear.
No. Well, it was, because in 1983, when this was all released in the news of the world, Keith Beebe, he went round the area, and there were several people reporting brown bears in the woods, seeing them on their haunches, and they were pulling the trees down. But I'm pretty sure that was the Yeti. Pretty sure, because several people have seen the Yeti down there this late.
No, I see bears in my place in West Virginia, but they're bears. I see them even in the daytime, and they're very obvious.
Yeah. But we're getting a lot of orbs down there. We've had orbs with skulls. with eyes in and actually floating skulls. That's all like paranormal stuff.
Are they trying to impress you, trying to frighten you? Or?
I don't know, try to frighten us because, I mean, we say to them, hello, love, and we say we love you, you know, and come. If you want to follow us around the forest, come around the forest with us. And you can take a photograph anywhere and they're there. Come beside us and come around us.
Where did they come from? Where do they go to?
We had a parapsychologist come down there last year, and he said that they were souls of American airmen who'd been killed in the wartime, who'd crashed there.
You've heard the story of East End Charlie, no doubt.
Oh yeah.
And I can tell you first-hand experience. I never saw him or whatever,
Yeah.
but I do know on more than one occasion the young gate guards at the back gate, at the east gate, and at the both gates in the back would be very, very frightened. I remember one time the guard was 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. I was just driving between the bases, just checking things, and the gate guard was so concerned and so upset and worried me that I called in and had relief sent out for him to send him up to the dining hall to get some hot coffee and go home and go to bed. And he was just totally, you know, just
Well, what did you actually see? Do you know? Because
he said he saw an aviator with a leather helmet.
oh, okay.
Approach him. Never got, you know,
Yeah.
come up and touched him or anything, but approached him, didn't threaten him, but just scared him half to death.
Yeah. Because we've got a shadow man that follows us around, and he hangs around at the
A what?
a shadow man.
Okay.
It's a shadow. He just he keeps coming past us around as he follows us down the track. He's always there. Loads of people seen him. You know, we call him shadow man. 'Cause that's what he looks like. But he does hang around around the barrier, and we didn't know if that was East End Charlie or Town End Charlie or whatever they call him.
But more than one person have seen the Americans, grave guards had seen it. It got to be quite common knowledge, and a lot of them, I think, accepted it. And so what? You know, he's here and he's not going to threaten us. I don't think anybody ever said there was any threatening moves or anything. It's just that somebody was sort of loitering there, I guess is the best thing to describe it.
Well, whatever we've seen down there, we've seen paranormal stuff, lots of paranormal stuff, and we've seen we've actually seen craft down there. We've got you know,
What type of craft?
well, one of them was a jellyfish.
In the air, on the ground?
We've seen them in the air, and we saw a long red one. It was really long. It's about how we saw it. It's about 12 to 15 foot long, and it had a blue orb underneath, and that's moving very, very slowly over. Well, from sort of like track 10 over to track 12 way, and then we saw, was it last year? At the beginning of last year, we saw a jellyfish type thing, and that was like the craft, and it came down, and it actually landed about 100 feet from us. It actually came down on the ground. Now I took a photograph of that. I think we've got it on the video there. I took a photograph, but when the photograph came out, there's a horrible face. You can see the craft like that, but it's all engulfed in little bubbles or little orbs. But there is a face actually looking where the craft was, and I think that's a horrible face. But you know, you can see the face there. And we've seen other craft which have been like cathedral whales go like that, and we've seen invisible craft. And that sounds silly, so we've seen invisible craft, but we've seen we haven't seen
an outline or something.
Yeah, come over the trees, and the trees are all
silently.
Yeah. Well, it was making a
noise,
that sort of noise.
A lot of black helicopters.
Well, that was no, it was very.
Invisible if
That's
it was.
quite stars are right, weren't they?
Yeah.
And just that whistling that came up from track 10, come across the trees, and still night, and the trees started swaying, and then went over towards the base.
Do you remember back to the early mid 1980s when you used to tell me about, well, we dropped a nuclear bomb in the woods, one of your planes crashed out there, and you're using this to cover up? Remember all those times we used to argue? You've forgotten all that.
No, I haven't. No, I haven't.
She used to be adamant.
I bet.
No.
You didn't see what you say you saw. You had some kind of an accident, something you don't want us to know about back there.
That's it.
I said, no, we can account for all the airplanes, all the weapons, we can account for everything. And nobody was flying that night. I know they weren't flying that night. We didn't even have a helicopter flying that night. I know that for a fact.
Really?
Because I went to Charlie Wicker, who was the Air Rescue's commander, and he came to me, in fact. He said, the next time you see something, when you're calling the command post, you call me and I'll have every chopper I have in the air as fast as I can get it in the air. He promised me that. Well, nothing ever happened after that where I had the opportunity to do that. Although there were some additional sightings.
It was good fun though, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
It was really good fun, wasn't it? I mean, especially when I kidnapped Chuck, that was really good fun.
It became a nuisance.
What about that?
Well, I couldn't get him out of my office and off my phone.
We didn't really, it wasn't I wasn't a nuisance.
No, honestly, you were, except when you kidnapped my son.
Oh, we didn't kidnap your son.
You did. When you take a minor to the pub and ply him with drinking.
He was the one who phoned us up and asked us if he could come out with us.
He didn't know who you were.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, he did. He invited us to your house and showed us all over your house. So, then the security guard come in and said, "Are you all right?" And he said, "Yeah, I just got some friends here," and the security guard left.
Oh, God.
He was someone as innocent as what you'd think.
So he's rather persistent, was she?
Yeah, I would say that's the
Yeah,
right term.
yeah.
Persistent.
Oh.
She and her two colleagues.
Yeah.
What do you hear from Dot these days?
I don't.
You don't?
I haven't
You
heard
got a falling out?
No, she's doing her thing down in Leamington, you know, down in Southampton. I haven't seen her for a while. But she did phone me last night.
I ran into her in 1977, 96. I was over here to do that live program.
96.
96. I ran into her. She came to the reception, and Jenny Randalls was there, as I remember. I didn't have too many words with Jenny
That's where we
Randalls.
did Strange But True.
Yes, Jenny Randalls kind of avoided me, I guess, the best way to put it. And, of course, Harry was there flitting all over the room.
That's right.
So.
No, I haven't seen her since that program. I haven't seen her since then. I haven't heard from her, but the funny thing was, I suppose it's because the television's now been down interviewed, she actually left a message on my answer machine last night.
Oh.
Just hang on back on the phone again, give it to ring sometime. So.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you spend an awful lot of time in the forest.
An awful lot of time in the forest. Nothing changes.
Do you believe in all of it?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of things. I have seen a lot of things. Yeah.
Well, sometimes some people see things other people can't see. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong, but
I had a landing encounter when I worked on the farm in 1980 in March. I actually came across a landing site and I filmed it and videoed it. I got it on, not video, but on slides. I worked on the farm at Vauxhall, and there was actually a thing landed on the mound, left a cross-shaped impression. Then it's found these scoop marks of 6-inch diameter, spun in a clockwise direction, and took out samples. And it came down, and I've got a chap who I know at Woodbridge where he works. His brother saw the actual thing coming down in the sky, this craft, and it was like an orange orb light coming down. That was that's March 1980.
So, do you think most of what you're seeing now is relates back to World War II and the aviators were lost there? Because there were quite a few.
Well, there's one that regularly contacts me, and his name is Brian, and he contacts.
Do you know a last name?
Yeah, we did Marston, wasn't it? Brian Marston.
You ought to try and get the full name and do some research.
Well, he told me all about his girlfriend and where his parents lived and that. And the other one, he contacts me down by the sea, and his name's George. We have actually
this was 1942 or 43. I mean, his girlfriend is rather old now.
Well, yeah,
That's right. He came from Great Hawksley.
Great Hawksley. Yeah.
Brian.
Yeah, he was, wasn't he?
Yeah.
But George, I met him down by the sea, and he actually took me down by the back of the sea and over to where the trees were, and he showed us actually where his aircraft landed or crashed.
We found parts.
We found it. Yeah, we got a metal detector, and we found a lot of it, and we found the bag that they used to keep books or orders and that in, and we found a button office uniform. But we kept them there, we said, no, it's a graveyard for them, so we buried everything.
I think it was a British plane, that was a British plane.
Yeah,
but,
I think so. But there was great big lumps of it all laid there, onto the ground and that. But we put it back, and we left it there. So, you know the place we call your place?
No, I don't.
Oh, you don't know the place we call Halt's place?
But I did take the ranger down last night, and as best I could determine, show him where I thought the place was. He said you thought it was further down. Because when I looked at the lighthouse, I looked at the farmhouse, and then went back to the track and looked from both sides, I said it had to be right in this area here. And it's pretty heavily grown up. And in my condition, I said, if I were, my normal self, and had older clothes on, I'd probably go in there and crawl around and look, but I can't tell you, because of the heavy growth, exactly where. I can tell you pretty close.
But do you remember when I came to your office and you put a cross on the map? Well, that is where we've always been, and that's what we call what we said Colonel Holt's place.
I think that's off a little bit. Maybe I marked the map wrong. Because when I went out, I know where I followed that track road that runs parallel to the fence.
Yeah.
We went into the forest prior to the road going down the hill.
Right.
So it's back up a little further. And I showed him where, so if you talk to him, he can show you where I showed him.
Oh, okay then, right. But,
Well, did you go down track 10, the actual where the Folly House is?
Well, first of all, we went to the end.
End of the East Gate.
And we went to the East Gate, went out, turned, went down the road that runs perpendicular to the to the farmer's fence.
Yeah.
To the end.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure which road in because they're not the same. They've been improved several.
Right. Yeah, they've improved them.
Well, you've been down there for years. You know they put a lot of gravel and it's had some heavy traffic probably when they took the trees out.
Yeah.
It's the same location, but the road's much improved.
Yeah, improved. Yeah.
And we went all the way to the end, and then he turned on this small trail, which is close to the fence. I said, "This is too close to the fence. It's back another 200 yards approximately." So we've gone past. He said, "Well, let's go down here anyhow." So we went down that track along, and I looked and I said, "Now we run about here is the right place, give or take maybe 50 or 100 feet." I said, because when I came up to the fence, and we went straight through the woods to the fence, I said, there's when I saw the farmer's house was there, and the lighthouse was over there, so we looked, there's the lighthouse, there's the farmer, and I said, so it's back over there a little further. He said, well, look, the place that you had identified was further down. I said, no, that was, I don't know how you got that site, but now I realize I marked it on a map.
You marked it on the map.
But, you know, that was best guess not being out there.
But that's where your son took us to, and that's where Steve Roberts took us to.
Well,
they all took us to that sort of more or less same site there.
That's too far down because the equipment was all parked before you went down the dip. When we went into the forest, the equipment was parked. We didn't go down that little dip with the equipment, I can guarantee you.
Well, we got to like that place.
So anyhow, then we came back up and went back to the road with the equipment, and we all went down that original night back in December and went down. I said, this is it, I guarantee you, because I remember the road. I said, it's been improved, it had ruts and it was you know, pretty difficult. We had to use four-wheel drive vehicles. And I said, we stopped here, give or take 20 or 30 feet, we stopped right here. Because we didn't go down that dip, just before the dip. And then we looked in, and the forest is very dense with new growth. It's almost impenetrable. I said, it's in there. And I showed him where. I said, no, it's about 2/3 of the way from this road to the fence. In there is where we found the site. So, and he was talking about maybe getting a Geiger counter, and I said, well, you know, this is 17 years or whatever it is, 23 years later.
Yeah, 23.
I said, you might if you had extremely sensitive, and there is such equipment available, but I don't know where you would get it. You might be able to pick up a difference in there, but I wouldn't bet any money on it, because what we picked up, and I still remember the old readings, I have them written down, was 10 to 12 times normal background radiation at the center of the place. So.
What was actually the distance between the actual landing feet, the actual tripod legs where it actually sat? What are the actual measurements? Were they about 14?
We did measure, it's on my tape, I think.
Were they about 14? 14 feet apart?
No,
not that big.
8 feet or something.
It's on the tape.
It's on the tape.
Yeah, that right. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
Now, the one thing I was telling these people, the memo I wrote was never written to be an investigation. The memo I wrote was never meant to be released. Not that I wanted secrets. The memo I wrote was written exclusively for the MOD to get them to come up and investigate.
Right.
Because people keep saying, "Why didn't you put this in? Why did you put that?" And I said, "You don't understand why I wrote it. And why was it written 2 weeks later?" Well, Don Morgan was on holiday in Wales, and Gordon Williams told me to get with him and write it. So, and I went over and Noel, whatever the Indian, whatever his name was, Noel, his assistant. The warden, as they called him, said, "Oh, why don't you wait till the squadron leader comes back to do this?" So I did. And then he and I got together, and I said, "What does the MOD want?" He didn't know. He made many phone calls, and nobody knew, according to him. I wasn't there when he did them. So he and I talked, and I said, "Well, I'll just write a little memo and sort of summarize it, but no, we're not going to call it anything but unexplained lights, and we'll just put it together and send it off, and then when they send their team up, we'll work with them." Well, you know. We waited and we waited, and I kept asking him every day, "Have you heard? Have you heard?" No. And I know he was calling and sending messages because he had a file, probably that old drawer and the file probably are close to it. He never let me see it all, but a lot of it was newspaper clippings and things, I'm told. I don't know.
Is that Moreland?
Yes.
Oh, when Dot and I went in there the very first time, when we went to see him before we saw you, he brought out the UFO file. He got his secretary to bring it out. And she laid it in front of him, that's before he knew who we were, and he was flicking through it, and we saw photographs and pictures of newspaper cuttings and statements in there, and he's flicking through it, and he said, "Hang on a minute, I better ask you two afterwards before I show you this." And because he said he thought we were from the MOD investigating the case, because when he found out we weren't, you see, he slammed it shut and said to the secretary, "Go and put it back." But it was too late because we'd seen most of it.
Well, I say, I knew because he had brought some things out one time when I was there, and he had a drawer probably that deep full of stuff, but it wasn't all government secrets or anything. It was newspaper clippings and comments and all sorts of correspondence people had written to him. He collected everything in there, I think, and kept it in the safe. So Because I have cardboard boxes, big boxes, boxes and boxes and boxes full of letters people have sent me and things that, you know, that people that are really, really, some strange ones, because they accuse me of, you know, being cahoots with the devil and witnessing the second coming of Christ.
Have you?
Things like
We've
that.
still got that going on down there. Anyway, we've still got people coming down there now who are saying this is all the devil's work. You know,
Oh,
shouldn't be
they
down
threatened
there.
me. I had some people threaten me. I said,
Oh, that's funny,
look.
Dot and I had that, you know, we had the MOD threaten us for some reason. tell me, if people say there's nothing happened down there, why did the MOD take Jenny, Dot and myself up there and try to get us to sign a statement to say that we would leave it alone and we wouldn't investigate anymore?
Oh, I didn't know they did that.
Oh yeah, they did.
What time frame was that?
Did. Well, that's why we're writing the book, because it's in the book.
Really?
Yeah,
I don't
they took
remember
us
that.
to
I have to go
the...
back and look. I have
yeah,
a
they
copy
did.
of the book somewhere.
They took us up to the MOD and they wanted us to sign this statement. They asked us if we'd sign a statement because, you know, if that was a security risk and the defence of our country, you know, we've got to sign this to leave it alone and not say anything. Jenny and I said we would if they could prove it and that we were doing any harm, and Dot said, no way, I'm going to keep investigating. So in the end we came to a stand. They wouldn't tell us what happened or whether that was a defence, and we said, no, we wouldn't sign it.
So they left you alone, probably.
No, they didn't. No.
Oh, they didn't?
Because they tapped our phones and they followed us around and we got threatened. I done a radio programme, got threats from them and all kinds of things.
You sure it was from the MOD?
Well, I don't know. I mean,
There's a lot of
they said-
interesting people out there
Yeah,
that
I
have
know.
agendas.
Yeah.
I know.
So it's hard to tell. I wouldn't put it past the MOD.
Yeah,
I'm not saying
I
they
know.
didn't, but I mean,
Well,
there's
they
a lot
said
of
they
other
come from the
lot of other
MOD,
people
so-
that want you to be
Yeah.
involved. Don't
They want
you
to jump
be
the gun and
involved.
get some information. Yeah.
I've met a lot of them. That's why I say I get
Yeah, I
very
know.
suspicious of everybody.
But that place which we said, where we've been going to all this time, where we said that's your place, you know, we always go there now. I mean, it's a big round circle, absolutely nothing grown in, nothing's ever grown there, and that's where we get a lot of stuff. I mean, last night we got this weird figure there, and all this really weird stuff coming up out of the ground.
There's a very good chance that
You
the
know,
plane crasher spilled a lot of fuel there.
The plane crash was further over.
No,
actually,
there's more
Well,
than
yeah,
one plane.
that's
Many,
true.
many, many
That's
planes
true.
crashed. It was
yeah,
it's
it could be.
unbelievable the number of
Yeah,
planes that crashed.
yeah.
We do think a lot of the stuff is, well, paranormal, you know.
Well,
that
we've got stones dropping out the sky as well, which is interesting. Down track 10, actually, and some of these are hot. They just drop down beside you, and we've had things like that happen. And you can actually talk to them and say, can you throw a stone out on the track? And they'll throw a stone out on the track. Or on the road, it'll throw a stone out on the road. And they've even asked them to throw 2 stones, and it throws 2 stones down. And that was in the summer this year.
Last year, but the stones are always polished, and well, even if
Like they're from a creek bottom.
yeah, like even if they're jagged, they will be, you know, the jagged.
You've got lots of them, and you pick them up.
Yeah, smooth. And there was a time there was quite a few of us there, and we were talking to them. And they said 2 stones for no and 1 for yes. And we were talking to them, and we asked them a question. They didn't like it. There was about 10 stones came down in the middle of us. They just come down.
But you see, they're asked
Yeah,
to, like, they're
it's,
from another dimension. They come through from another
Really
dimension.
strange.
And they don't like it when there's too many people down. They like it quiet. There's quiet, they seem to communicate. But,
It's 6 o'clock wrap up.
right,
Okay.
okay,
So
right.
Oh goodness, already.
And they just wanted to have just a quick chat. They're nearly finished there now.
Good.
And a quick chat with everyone.
Great.
Yeah.
It's been a long day.
Yeah,
This is,
definitely.
my time is all messed up.
Yeah.
It's almost lunchtime.
Yes.
I'm going back tomorrow
Go
morning,
back
yes.
tomorrow morning.
Yeah, I just had to come over and go back. I just don't have the time.
Do you miss the
to-
place?
No.
Do you miss it here?
Yes,
You-
but it's changed so much, you know, there's no going
Yes,
back.
Jack. Yeah, I know. Yeah,
Oh, no, it was
yeah.
most enjoyable 4 years.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It wasn't most enjoyable.
yeah, yeah.
Being chased by the
Brilliant.
crazy woman.
Hmm?
He enjoyed it, whatever he
Yeah.
says he enjoyed it, he really did. He enjoyed having us arrested, he enjoyed saying we
I didn't
kidnapped
arrest
his
you. I
son.
had.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't. I had you all removed. You weren't there with them, were you? I know Dot was
Yes,
there.
I was.
Were
I
you
was
there?
outside your house when you came down there with all
That's right.
these
I
guys.
asked you to leave and you wouldn't leave.
Yeah,
I said, if you don't
but-
leave-
You arrested us and took us
I
up
know.
to
I didn't
security
arrest you.
house.
I called and asked the police because you refused to leave. I called the police. And by the way, I wasn't in my underwear. I had been jogging. What had happened? I was
You
been in
had
the
your suit
I had been in the
on.
States on
You
a legal
just-
matter,
you
and
just
Charles was there. That's when you were plying him with alcohol every night. And I came home. He wasn't there. He wasn't expecting me for another day or two.
No, this is a different time.
Different
You just came back from a skiing holiday, and Dot was banging and banging on your door, and you came downstairs. We thought it was really sexy. So what are you worried about? You had your boxes, white silk boxer shorts on.
No.
You came to do. Yes, you did.
No,
You
I have been
did.
jogging.
And we ran like anything because you were really cross. You said you could get us the cops after us and all that. And we ran, and I broke the key in the. I had a mini, and I broke the key actually in the loft, ran onto it, and Dot opened the window, and she climbed through the window and let me in.
Oh, well, yeah. Okay.
No, it was good anyway.
Yeah. Oh, you got more of the tapes? I'm going to have to run.
Yeah. Okay.
I will be back.
Effect with all these little ETs down there, and the middle chap in the middle there was called Curso. There's another shaped craft that's been seen down Rendlesham. This is on the seat again with lots of orby shapes and faces on them. Taken at night time. This is a big craft seen over Cape Green over towards the coast. It's a long reddish colour craft with a blue orb underneath it, and it moved to the right hand side across the sky and just appeared. Seen by Brenda and Terry one evening. This is another orb seen over Rendlesham towards Cape Green. And came out of the sky, wavered down, then went to the left hand side and then just appeared behind a tree. This is the lid at track 10, where we get a lot of activity down there. We've seen quite a lot of things happening. This is a view down the actual lid, with the lid moved back. You can see the actual water drain off area underneath there, which just comes through us like a tunnel effect, which drains the water from the runway when we have storms. It's a storm drain really, take all the excess water away. There's some orbs near the lid, actually very bright, came onto the edge of the picture. There's an orb caught near the lid into the forest there, brightish white orb. Some more strange lights here with Terry sitting down on the seat. Just got this something bright coming the edge of the picture on the right hand side as well. Some more orbs down track 10. This is track 10 again with Don with his metal detector. We had all these orbs came round him, came out on the picture. There's another orb on the photograph here. There's some more orbs again down track 10. There's a couple more orbs, and the one on the right hand side, if you zoom in on, you'll see actually looks like a skull face. You can actually see the actual face of that one. That was taken by me one night going to track 12 with just an ordinary conventional camera with flash on it, with a 200 film I think that was at the time, just taken at night time. There's another orb in track 10, just looking into the forest. There's some more orbs. This is down track 10 again in the forest. This is down track 10. It was a misty night and we saw something coming up the track, and it's like an apparition, something trying to form in the mist. Looks like he's holding a torch or something coming up there, and it's got a glow to it. There's another strange photograph there with something coming at the side of the picture. An orb or two and a bright light again on the right hand side. Some light seen in the sky at night, taken with just a conventional camera. There's a picture of Shadow Man, who we see down track 10 quite a bit, and it usually hangs around near the actual gate near the road, and I've seen him wander by the car and disappear. These are a selection of stones that we have had dropped down at the sky, down track 10. where they're smooth, and some of them have been dropped and they're warm or very hot to touch. We've asked them to drop these stones down in front of us, and they have. They've dropped them on the road. We asked them to drop them on the road, and they've dropped them on the road. We asked them to drop more than one stone, and they've thrown down 2 stones. So they seem to communicate, and they seem to understand you, and they seem to be friendly. They don't drop them on top of cars. They don't throw them at you. They just be some sort of intelligent life form, whatever it is. This is a green orb, a light. It come off the ground, and it turned into a red orb, and then shot through the trees. Or this is down towards the clearing end to the track between track 12 and track 13. This is friends with Brenda, who came from London, and as I took the photograph, when I had it developed, there's a strange object down on the ground near their feet. I can get it in the corner here. I'll zoom in on it. Gives you an idea. It's very strange indeed. It's like some sort of like a fluorescent type shape. Weird. Very strange. This is in Area Y, by the way. Area 1. And we've had a lot of activity there. This is the area I think was in Georgina's book actually, and still hasn't grown nothing there, it's still dead. But that's another story. This is a diagram of what Brenda had seen one day, a plan of a blueprint of what she had seen. It came through to her, and it's sort of like the craft and what was on board this craft. A picture taken of the sky at night when the sun set, and there's a sort of whitish like streak going across the sky. It's either some like a rod type effect or an orb. That's what went across the sky and it left a trail. Now this is interesting. This shape here appeared when we looked through the magnifying glass at it. It had a definitely sort of like spiky effect on the outside of it. Some sort of you can just see the spikiness of it. Corners, got this like spike effect. Whether it's some sort of thing that flies through the air at very tremendous speed and uses these sort of like wing type effect. We don't know. Picture taken in Brenda's car. When we had it developed, I saw this light in the car, and we had it developed. There's sort of like a face in there, just looking downwards. There's like a nose and mouth and eyes. Looks very sort of spooky. More orb lights down into clearing with Mason in the picture. There's a sign we found down the forest one day. Moved up from bracken. It's laid down, face down in the ground. I think it's been there some time. Might have been used in 1980. It might have been after that, but it's one of the old firearm signs anyway. There's another one with a funny shape in it, like an orb and a sort of face on that. Weird, that one. It's very strange. Picture of Brenda again with Mason, just to finish off that section.